President-elect Kirsty Coventry, have you had time to take it all in so far?
Yes and no, I think. A little bit of a loaded question. From the election, I went home and had an incredible warm welcome from all Zimbabweans, which was wonderful. And then wrapped up very quickly my ministerial job as the Minister of Sport and Art. And then took some time with my family, and we got into the bush in the safari, or on a safari, and it was incredible. I wish I could have been there for 10 days, but it was a great 4 days just to get away and get back to nature, feel grounded, have a bit of a rest, and then hit the ground running really with the transition. Came back to Lausanne and started with that, and with President Bach and the team, and had an incredible welcome from the Lausanne team. Looking forward to coming to visit the OBS team in Madrid. But no, it's been a bit of a whirlwind, but a wonderful whirlwind, if I can say that.
I mean, I watched the celebration as you landed in Zimbabwe, and I think it's not just in Zimbabwe, I think the rest of Africa, including my mother, who was extremely excited that you had been elected. You are the most successful Olympian out of Africa. For you, does that still weigh on your shoulder, or is this just the way you walk into the world now?
No, I think I don't really look at it as a weight. I think, are there a lot of expectations? Yes. Does that come with a lot of responsibility? Yes. But I'm really so honored to have been given this opportunity, and I'm so excited for what the future holds. And it's a movement that has been a part of my life for so long, so it almost feels like a very natural progression.
As an Olympian, and throughout your journey, at what point did you realize this was more than just you being an athlete, but more of a purpose, to have a voice, and also to create a legacy of impact?
I think that was probably right at the beginning when I became an IOC Athlete Commission member, and got to see how having a voice at the seat of the table really is so empowering. And realizing at that moment that the things that we were doing in terms of not just the conversations we were having, but the educational forums that we were giving to athletes about career transition, helping a National Olympic Committee athlete set up and run a meeting for the first time. You were changing the way that athletes were being perceived, and that really came with a lot of, I think of like the right word. It was purpose. I think that's the best word to describe it. It was this opportunity where you were not just creating change, but you were creating opportunity, and a real purpose. And again, that's something that I knew as a 9-year-old that I wanted to go to the Olympic Games and win a gold medal. And I didn't really know what that meant. I just knew that that's what I wanted to do. And I think coming into the movement as an athlete representative, you suddenly, and I'm sure we all have different moments where you have your moment of just realizing, oh, this is a new purpose, and having the opportunity to give back to a movement that changed my life then became the purpose.
But you've been giving back for a very long time. When you talk about purpose and talk about impact, talk a bit about the work you've done with your foundation back home as well, and the impact you've created there as well.
Yeah, it was always in my mind to be able to go back home at the right time and to give back to Zimbabwe and a community that has given me so much throughout being a competitive athlete. Even when the newspapers were writing about the bad swims, the rest of Zimbabwe were, getting behind me and saying, come on, you can do it, one more time, one more time. And so I wanted to go back and give something back to Zimbabweans, and we set up the Kirsty Coventry Foundation. the whole concept was around going into areas that were underserved and very high population, and create safe space for kids between the age of 6 and 13 for them to come in and just try new sports. So obviously in Zimbabwe, soccer, rugby, netball, basketball, and then we did water safety, and in some of the communities where they had access to pools, we did swimming. But those were the 5 sports, and each of the age groups rotated and played all 5 sports. We started off by just going twice a week to communities. We got in touch with the communities first and identified a space. We identified coaches, and we got the coaches linked up to the federations, and we paid for the coaches to get level 1 courses, level 2, level 3 as we progressed on. And in return, the coaches just had to volunteer some time for us on weekends. And within 6 months, I think we had 6,000 kids coming through. So we really exploded very quickly. But it was the best thing. It was the Saturday mornings. We went from 8 in the morning till 12, and it was the best thing to do on a Saturday, because you could just go to any of the 3 or 4 communities that we ran from and hang out with the kids, and they were just big smiles. And then at the end of the year, we would have a big tournament between them. And again, it was just being able to give back, but give purpose to these kids and get them involved in sport. And sadly, we slowed the foundation right down when I became a minister, and then with COVID. But hopefully we'll get back to running at full speed in the near future.
I always talk about being a product of sports, because as a woman and as a young person, I've grown up through sports, and you've done exactly the same, giving back into your community. But when you look back at those Olympic moments, when you're on stage, when you were performing, not just the medals, but the pressure, the pride, the expectations, what stays with you most since then? What hasn't left you since you were competing?
I think that just the drive and the competitiveness never leaves. I've been competitive since I was little. I was banned to play family card games because I hated to lose. And I just wasn't really much fun to be around when I lost. I think that for me, it's always been trying to push myself to be better, trying to find the next goal that I feel has a purpose to it. And I think that was probably one of the hardest things when I was going through my career transition. It's why I wanted to get involved with the Athletes Commission, because I was connected to this movement. Even if I was 9 years old, the Olympic Games were the Olympic Games. That's what I was working towards. And then when I was able to become an Olympian in 2000, then the drive was, let's focus on medals, right? And to have that goal for 20 plus years, and then to have to know or realize, my Olympic career might be coming to an end, that might be the end of that journey. It was really wonderful to find that career path into the athletes. It helped a lot with that. But again, I think it was being very purposeful in wanting to find ways to stay connected, and wanting to find ways that just bring me joy at the same time. Like, yes, it's hard, and just like an athlete, you have your bumps and you go up and down and it's hard, but the goal of being able to stand on that podium and be an Olympic champion was always there. Now, or when it was the Athlete Commission, it was, how do we represent athletes? How do we support them better? How do we make sure they're feeling heard? How do they make sure they know that we're doing everything we can to ensure we have incredible Olympic Games and a platform for them? And now it's the movement, right? Now I get to be a protector of this movement, and have the goal of ensuring that we continue to inspire the next generation, as well as making sure we create an incredible games and platform, and all the stakeholders are happy. And I'm excited about that next challenge.
When you look back at your time as an athlete, and I'm talking about it looking at your cap from Beijing, 2008. I think 2008, I was still trying to finish university and get a job. You were winning medals on a global stage. And you look back at that time till now coming to lead a movement. How does that sit within you?
I don't know, maybe ask me in a few years after we've gone through some trials and tribulations. Do you know what? Again, I think it comes down to I'm very much a person that once I've set a goal, it's really about trying to attain that goal and to just work towards that. And it's just part of it, right? And I don't want that to sound like I don't understand the full gravity or how big a role this is. I totally do, but I think also it's coming back down to putting your feet on the ground and doing the work that's needed. And I'm not sure if I'm answering you, but I guess I just see it as the next goal, right? Yeah. The next thing that we need to work towards. And for me, that it's just decided to do that, and here we are. So let's do it.
But you've literally gone from the pool to the policy tables. What's still with you from your swimming days that shape how you're going to lead, especially on a global stage?
So I think some of the hardest lessons we learn as an athlete are when we're injured, when we're sick, when we have the bad days in training. And it's really about having that grit and that determination, and to know that you have it within yourself to get back up. And you also, I was an underdog. I came from Zimbabwe. No one knew where Zimbabwe was. And I like being an underdog. I like that people tend to look at me and be like, oh, she's very young, and maybe she doesn't have as much experience, and she hasn't worked in a big corporate. But there's a lot of things that I've gone through that nobody else has gone through. No one else has, come from Zimbabwe and lived through a time that was very challenging for us as a country, while being a top athlete, and the pressure that comes with. I think a lot of our experiences that we live through in life help shape the people that we are today, and I don't think it's just about age. So to all those people that may look at me and see one thing, it kind of excites me, because I think that they won't see what's coming when they realize what I do have to contribute.
And what you said, a lot of people will relate to, especially women that are also trying to step up in this role. And it comes with a lot of people also doubting you, especially stepping into big leadership role on a stage like this. How do you meet that? How do you treat people that have doubts about you? And what advice would you give to other women that are also in the same position as you?
So this is something that my mum and my mum's mum, my grandmother, would always say, and I don't think I ever really realized how valuable a lesson it was until recently. But they would always, I was bullied at school, and you get into the habit where you'd see those kids outside of school, and it went into high school, and you'd kind of snub them and walk away and not say anything. And I remember my mum and my grandmother both saying, it takes nothing to just say hello. It means nothing. It takes nothing from you. Be the bigger person. And I think that is extremely relevant when you have people that may doubt your capabilities. Is you just got to smile and again show them. Make believers of them. You're always going to have people that aren't going to believe in your dream. And I knew, and part of the reason I was bullied was because I would always talk about going to the Olympic Games and I'm going to win a gold medal, and they would just look at me and call me names and tell me I was ridiculous. But those same people, when I won my medal and I went back to Zimbabwe, were the first people that wanted a picture with me. So again, I think it comes down to just knowing your own capabilities and being inwardly proud of that and confident about those capabilities, not in an arrogant way or in a forceful way, but in a way that just will allow you to show people that you are capable and you've got this. And that would be my same advice to women who are wanting to step into these different leadership roles. Know that you're capable, hold that within yourself, and be confident enough to just show them.
This is so amazing to hear as a woman in sports, and to hear you talk about this way and kind of sharing your experience of growing up. But one of the things you mentioned within your manifesto is Ubuntu, something that I'm very familiar with because I'm a Boston Celtic fan, and it's something that we talk about within our basketball world. You know, I am because we are. How are you going to bring this into the Olympic world, especially for communities who really have a voice at a table?
Yeah. Well, I want that to be the basis. I want that to be the foundation, because you and I both know the true meaning behind Ubuntu is understanding that every little thing I do is going to impact you. And we have to be considerate about that. We have to understand it. We have to know that. That's relevant to an athlete, to an NOC, to an IF, to a top sponsor, to a media rights holder. We have to all live within this huge ecosystem, and not just live, we need to thrive. And I really want that to be a part of our day-to-day culture, where we fully embrace it and we understand it and we work towards it.
I mean, for me, you know, I just mentioned to one of our colleagues today that I grew up in Tottenham, you know, from Tottenham to the IOC. It is amazing to me, and when we talk about our values, especially, I've grown up with coaches teaching me about excellence and respect and friendship, and I truly, in my journey, this is the values that I've lived in, and now I'm working in an organization that lives this value, and now you're leading this organization with these values, which is, for you, how important is it for you to hold those values strongly and ensure that this continues to be the thing that inspires people like you at 9 years old, like me at 11, coming from Africa to the UK, to continue to move this to communities that may not know about this?
I think it's extremely important, especially in today's world. It's you know, a very divided world, and values are what have led this movement for over 100 years. It's what's kept this movement sort of intertwined together, and that is something that we can never, never, never compromise. And we have to be proud of that. We have to be proud that we're a movement that not just lives by its values, but shares its values and promotes its values. And if we can find more ways to do that in the future, and we can reach all households around the world, that's part of my goal, is how do we have more reach into communities across our massive globe. How do we reach those children to share our values with them? How do we reach them to inspire them? And what is that going to look like? And those are the exciting topics, right? That's what's exciting about the future, to have those conversations and to say, well, how are we going to do it? And what is it going to look like? It's going to look completely different. I'm sure in the next 5 to 10 years, we might not even need all these cameras to have the next interview, right? It's going to be these tiny little things. With technology that's changing so much, and artificial intelligence, how are we going to use that to our benefit? And those are things that I think we need to ensure our values are very close, and we're holding them firm, because we can get pulled in many different directions. And it's really going to be our job to ensure that those values stay firmly attached to us.
And when everything is pulling you, work, politics, the demands of being on all the time, what grounds you? What brings you back home? Is it people? Is it place? Is it a feeling?
7-month-old baby grounds me right now. No, definitely my family. That's an easy question. I think family and friends. And that was the same. I was so fortunate when I was competing, because it was the same when I was competing. My best friend, you can ask her today, she probably, well, I'll give her that. she probably knows how many medals I won, but she would not know times, events, nothing, you know, because it doesn't matter to her. Right? I'm just Kirsty. And that's the same with my parents and my family. But yes, it's very humbling to get home and go back to just being mum. But it is the best thing. And I hope that they will continue to do that for me.
I mean, the last time I saw you during the Paris Games, and you were pregnant.
Yes.
You're ready to have your second baby. How has it been like for you?
It has been crazy, and it's been hard, and it's been, again, a emotional roller coaster, but it's also been wonderful. And it's, you know, I have 2 daughters, and someone shared with me the other day that daughters bring blessings. And so, you know, it's, I think there's some sort of cosmic, some power out there. When I was pregnant with my first, I then became a minister, and then I was given the opportunity to lead the Brisbane 2032. And now, when my second daughter is born, I'm being given this huge opportunity to lead our beautiful organization. So definitely they bring us blessings, and definitely they keep us humbled. Kids will tell you straight away what they're thinking, and that is humbling enough.
I was watching you last week at the IOC summit, you know, amongst the world leaders and policymakers, all these important people. Yeah. And I was quietly thinking, I wonder what Kirsty's thinking right now. What was going through your mind just sitting there with all these people around you?
No, you know, actually I was just thinking I was so proud to be there. And did I ever think that as a little girl who just wanted to swim, would ever think it would completely change her life to now be surrounded by all these incredible people that have done something incredible to be there, right? That, again, I definitely try to take little moments. It's a piece of advice that my cousin gave me on my wedding day, actually, to my husband and I. She said, this day is going to go really quick, so make sure you take a step back and get a snapshot and just look. And I try and do that at all big events, to really just take it in and be grateful and be thankful, to be like, wow, this is incredible. This is where this journey has led me, from that, you know, little dream to now being here, and again having just the greatest bit of admiration for the people that you're now surrounded with, and yeah, that too can be humbling sometimes when you realize who you're in the room with, but at the same time you have common goals that you're working towards, and so that's part of what this movement does.
It was amazing just watching you amongst them. And it's just like, I wonder what's going through your head right now. But you've made quite a journey, you know, from a poor in Zimbabwe to the world stage. If there was one message you hope to send to young people, especially girls, what would that be?
Oh, I would say that no dream is too small, because you never know where it's going to lead. And know that sometimes people are going to pull you down, and be strong enough to get yourself out of or away from those situations. You know, sometimes your friends are not going to be the cool friends. And that's okay, because they will be cool, and you realize as you get older, like, actually we're the cool ones, right? But be confident, be confident, even if you feel you have to be quietly confident about what you want to achieve. You know, sometimes setting a goal, it's not for anyone else, it's just for yourself, and then work towards that and take your time.
How do you want to be remembered? If you had an opportunity to write your own headline in an article for Olympics.com, what does that look like?
That's an interesting question. I haven't even started yet. No, I think, you know, I want people to remember me by saying she never changed. She was always humble. She was always approachable. The position never changed her. but she changed the position.
How has becoming a mom shaped you as a leader?
I have a lot more patience. I now realize I can do a lot more with a lot less sleep. But no, it really, being a mom is the best job in the world. It is a huge honor, a huge privilege. And again, they humble you, and when you get home after a rough day, you can look at them and you can realize, okay, this is why we're doing this. This is why we're going through a hard time, so that they don't have to go through those hard times and they can have an easier path to whatever it is that they want to achieve. But we're also doing this so that the Olympic Games and our values remain relevant in this crazy world of ours. Yeah, they're the meaning.
Let's look back at 9-year-old Kirsty.
Yep. Okay.
Let's pretend 9-year-old Kirsty is right here, right now.
I had a terrible haircut, so yes.
Not a bowl haircut.
It was like, oh, it was horrible.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Let's imagine 9-year-old Kirsty is here right now.
Okay.
What would you be saying to 9-year-old Kirsty right now?
Oh, that's a, you know, I don't know. Because I think everything, I think 9-year-old Kirsty was on track. You know, having those big dreams, you know, not being afraid to share them. I think sometimes we need to go back to being a little bit more what we were like when we were kids. You know, not having those ambitions without having all the muffledness of, oh, but we can't do this or we can't do that. I think, so yeah, I think I'd probably look back and take a few things from the 9-year-old Kirsty and not really have to give her too much.
When you were in school, what sports did you participate in, and why did you set your eyes on swimming?
Yeah. Well, like you, my mum made my sister and I try everything. I think tap dancing, ballet didn't last very long. We were very uncoordinated. No, I grew up in a very sporty household, and I'm so grateful. Christmas days for us, obviously in Zimbabwe, is summer, so we were playing volleyball and in and out of the pool and doing as much activity as possible. And swimming was just a safe space. It became a really quiet space. But I played field hockey for my school, and I played tennis. Dislocated my knee playing field hockey. That was not so much fun. Had surgery, and realized that really the pool was where I wanted to be. My granddad and my mum taught me how to swim when I was 18 months old. My dad's oldest brother boxed for Rhodesia, and his middle brother swam for Rhodesia, so I had swimming genes. My grandmother played tennis right up until the day she got sick. But yeah, we just grew up surrounded by sports, and like I said, swimming was really the one place during school, one where I would kick everyone's butt, which was awesome. But it was just somewhere where I loved it. I loved it from such an early age. I would get home from school, it'd be the first thing I would do is jump into the pool, and then my mum would take me off to practice, and I would be sleeping in my swimsuit to get her up in the morning to take me to morning practice. It was just something that, yeah, I don't know, it sort of found me and I found it, and that was an easy choice.
And now let's look back to 2008 in Beijing with that cap.
Yeah.
What emotions was going through your head?
I don't think it's appropriate for me to share with you. In Beijing, I had set my goal for 4 gold medals. So walking away with 3 silvers and a gold, you can only imagine why I can't share with you what I was probably saying and thinking at the time. No, Beijing was definitely a an Olympic Games that now I can look back and say I was successful. But at the time, it really stung, and it was quite a lot to get over. I had got my first 3 races were all silver, and I got silver by, I think, in 2 of the races, 2/100ths of a second, so those stung real bad. And then finally got the gold in the last race. I wish I had gone back and realized what I was actually achieving in the moment, and not been so hard on myself for not getting those other 3 golds. And I know it sounds horrible, and I've had other athletes sit to me and be like, "What? You sound crazy." And I'm like, "I know, but it was not the most enjoyable from my perspective, because I had pinned everything to it being successful, and it was only going to be success if it equated to 4 gold medals, and the fact that I only walked away with 1. And now when I even say it, I'm like, "You're crazy, that sounds ridiculous." But yeah, I wish I had gone back and just realized that actually I was achieving a lot. I had broken 2 world records. Stephanie Rice, who beat me in the 400 IM, her and I were the first woman under 430 ever, and I think we're still in the top 8. You know, there were incredible moments, and I think sometimes we get wrapped up so much in what we want the end result to be, we don't ever give enough respect or pay homage to the process or just being in the moment. And sometimes it's really important to remind ourselves to do that, because we can't ever go back.
And my last question, and talking of process, you've been through the process of girl from Zimbabwe now to Lausanne in Switzerland. If somebody was to ask you to describe Kirsty Coventry in 3 words, what would that be?
Ooh. Hopefully, I would like for them to say that I never give up, I am humble, and work hard.
I am excited that you are our new president, and I can't wait to contribute to your impactful manifesto that you have coming in. So welcome.
Thank you. Thank you.